For someone like me who's in a just day-to-day job, how do I start my spiritual journey?
What I personally recommend is there is a lot of rules, there is a lot of process, but bhakti is the most difficult thing because bhakti means to surrender.
What role do you think Shivaratri will play in a person's life?
Shiva is always there, but on Mahashivaratri, it almost feels like, are you going to be able to choose gods? Are you going to be able to choose which god you want to please?
Why should I do it? What's the purpose of doing all this? End of the day, we're gonna just die.
The purpose of life is to find the meaning of.
So how does astrology actually work? In my birth chart, it was given that I'll end up in a government job. Now you have a government, you're thinking about government job. How about some 1,000 years back or some 2,000 years back, government jobs were not even an option. So how come birth charts can predict someone is going to have a government job? Today we have Sukritya, an entrepreneur from Nepal who's also from the family of the Pandita Pashupatinath temple. He's just 25, younger than me. But he is someone I look up to. I look in awe when it comes to his maturity and knowledge. The kind of knowledge this guy has is just so surprising, to be honest. The last podcast we did with him was a super hit. I got so many mails from people asking me to do another session with him. So here we are again for another super duper conversation with Sukritya Khatiwada. Hi man, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been almost a year, no?
Yeah, it's been almost a year and it's always good to connect with you.
Oh, it's amazing. How's Mumbai treating you?
Mumbai is good. The temples here, the people here, I always love Mumbai. It has a very special place.
We have temples in Mumbai.
Absolutely. There's a
Okay.
lot of temples. Siddhivinayak, Mahalakshmi,
Okay.
a lot of, and Babulnath. I went to Babulnath yesterday. Always really a good time in Mumbai.
So glad to be here. And you're one of the person, who had made a great impact in my life since the conversation we had last time. My life changed like upside down. It's been a year, but I know my life changed upside down in terms of career, but also in terms of my personal life. So many things happened in my life. I know you are specialized in Rudraksh, but I have a feeling that you're much more than that. So I want to ask you some questions. I want to go beyond the, Rudraksh thing. Um, for a person like me, so many things are happening. First, I'll just take this year, 2024, okay? The year started great, amazing. I won the national award, okay? Which nobody would have imagined. Forget about me, nobody would have imagined this could be award for creators. Then I got the award. The year started amazing. My career was doing so good. But as the year, ends, my life went downhill, like little downhill. So now all the people in my life, they are telling me, go pursue your career, go do something amazing. You're doing amazingly well, do something well, think big, and all this motivation talks are there in my life. But it all comes down to one point. Why should I do it? Like, it all comes down to money. Okay, you want me to make money. What do we do with all the money? Like, with the kind of money I have right now, I'm comfortable. And this is enough for me. And you want me to make something, somebody is approaching me to write a book, somebody is approaching me to do something for the schools and all those things. Why should I do it? What's like, to be like, to put it in a simple sentence, what's the purpose of doing all this? End of the day, we're going to just die.
Yeah.
So I have a, like, okay, I'm going to sound stupid, but even had thoughts like, what if we just die right now? Anyway, we're going to die.
Yeah.
So what's the freaking purpose of life? I know you're younger than me, but from the conversation we had last time, you are one of this amazing freaking person who have so much knowledge when it comes to spirituality. Or also you're much more mature than your age.
Mhm.
So, like, what do you think would be the purpose of life for a human being? For someone who's doing reasonably well in their life, but you just couldn't understand, why are we doing all this? Why are you doing all this? Why am I doing all this? Why is this person doing all this? So why?
Yeah, I think this is a great question to begin with. I know the national award that you got. Really, a big congratulations to you. I think it was destined, and you deserve it. So it was great to see you getting recognized for the hard work that you do. In terms of the question, I think one of the intrinsic qualities of humans is the search. Everyone is searching. Everyone is searching for something better, something different than what they have. We are bold with the status quo. We like to search for things. If we have an apartment, we like to search for a home. If we have a car, we like to search for a bigger car. We might even dream of a helicopter and a private jet. We are always in a search. The search is universal. The subject of the search is very difficult to find, hence the confusion. Meaning, what are we searching for is the biggest question. And that's the question that leads to one being spiritual or one being a little bit diverted from their path and moving towards a mental state which is not comfortable for them, a higher purpose. See, humans are made out of two things, material and spiritual, is my understanding. The material self is something that everyone is pretty much accustomed to and familiar with, but the self that resides within is infinite. It's Atma. It comes from the infinite, but it is captured within what we call as a body, which is finite. Hence, we're always intrinsically searching to become infinite, big, large. That is what quest of life is, and the purpose of life is to find the meaning of why this atma is captured in your body. And I think this, what hinders the search is delusion, which is known in Sanskrit or Sanatan Dharma as Maya. The world, we call it as a Maya, right? Maya or illusion. And the quest is to search the Brahma, which is inside, which we also call as Atma. So this search of Atma through the path of delusion is what we know as the process of self-realization, which is preached as, the most important thing or the purpose of human life. But there's a lot of blockages. There's a lot of confusion. First, ignorance, avidya, what we call it. There's five. I will talk about those. But the first thing is you don't even know that you're searching what you're searching for. You can't be good at searching if you're not even aware of what you're searching for. But the process of getting out of these blockages and reaching the ultimate goal of what is self-realization is the process of spiritual transformation, is what I call it. And I think everyone, irrespective of whether they're aware or not, is in the process of transforming themselves. Materially, you want to be fitter. Spiritually, you want to be closer to your identity or purpose. Hence, uh, because I'm not a fitness expert, but I come from a family of Vedic expert with more than, by the grace of Lord Shiva, more than 3 generations of expertise. I think I have a little bit of a little bit of say in what is spiritual transformation, and that is probably something that is going to be discussed further in my book. But spiritual transformation is what I believe the purpose of human existence is, to transform themselves from their current state into a higher state, unless they form what we call as yoga. Yoga in today's day, we know yoga as Hasta Yoga, where we're doing positions. It's important. It's a materially to get fitter is very important. I'm not trying to discount that. But yoga is much more than that. Yoga in Sanskrit means union. The process of you unionizing with Parabrahma, call it Shiva, call it Mahavishnu, call it Sadashiv, the process of you unionizing is yoga. There's different paths to the process or the way you can unionize. In Sanatan Dharma, we are prescribed 4 paths. The first path is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti is devotion. It might sound like the most simplest thing, that your mother wakes up in the morning without, without any doubt, anything at all in her mind. She goes to the temple and worships. Right? We see that in our families. We see that across cultures. But bhakti is the most difficult thing, because bhakti means to surrender. You can't generate bhakti in people without experience. Uh, you have to be destined to be born either in a family which has bhakti in it, or you have to be destined to land in a place where there is bhakti all across. For example, even what my belief is even if a person has no bhakti or no interest, if they go to a temple, they will experience something that they will never be able to experience outside of it. Yes, according to our Sanatan Dharma, there is karma. You have to do good karma in order to lead to a place where you can even enter the temple. But let's believe that you entered the temple without any bhakti. I think what you come out of is bhakti. So bhakti is generated through experience. That's the first path of yoga.
I've read somewhere that even to have bhakti, you should have the grace of God. Only then you can experience a state of bhakti.
Absolutely. It's all karma. So there is three forms of karma. Karma is a word that has been popularized in today's karma. Karma is a bitch, is what we know karma as, right? But karma is it has three forms. It lives in sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, and agami karma. It lives in the karma saya, which we know as karmic womb. Sanchita karma is the sum total of karma of the atma. It might or might not be experienced in your life today or in this life of yours as Keerthi or Sukritya, but it is there. It is like a bank balance that you might not have access to. It's saving, right? There is prarabdha karma. The purpose of life is prarabdha karma. The reason you exist is to fulfill your prarabdha karma. In the process, you have a lot of agami karma. Agami karma is the karma we are creating today. We don't know the result. We don't know what this conversation is going to bring out, what your day to day is going to bring out. But that is agami karma. We are supposed to do that. I think there is a lot of karmic balance that is required for one to generate bhakti. To answer your question, I think I agree to that, but there is often serendipity or an occasion where people might be given a chance because what I truly believe in is Bhagwan or God is kind, and He wants us to experience. The experiences are right, across us. You can just close your eyes and experience God, right? Experience something that is greater than you, experience something that is bigger than you. And I think bhakti yoga is accessible. It's the simplest form, but it's the most challenging. After that, there is Gyan Yoga. Uh, Gyan Yoga is more of a philosophical kind. I don't believe much in bhakti, but I'm very spiritual, is something that we hear a lot of people saying. They're practicing what is known as Gyan Yoga. They're philosophizing, they're reading Upanishads, they're reading the Puranas, they're reading the Vedas, they're reading maybe, philosopher's quote in life. They're practicing more of Gyan Yoga. There is union through Gyan as well, because the ultimate Gyan leads to you realizing the purpose, which is to actualize and unionize with Shiva or the God that you believe in. The third step, what you can take is Dhyan Yoga. We see a lot of meditators. No, I don't do anything. I meditate. I wake up in the morning. I meditate for 3 hours, and I'm trying to understand my life. What are they trying to understand? A simple, way of thinking it is, if you want to understand the ocean, you can understand it through the understanding of droplets of water within it, right? If you come from God, then understanding yourself through meditation should mean that you understand God. So Dhyan Yoga is more about that. It's about controlling your senses, developing there is a lot of things that fall into Dhyan Yoga. There is Dharana, which is concentration. There is Dhyan, which is when you concentrate enough that signals start to come to you. There is also Samadhi, when you become what you're thinking about. So there is steps in Dhyan Yoga, but Dhyan is also one of the ways you can go. And the last one, which we see being practiced, is also Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is when you do actions without the purpose or without the expectation of fruits. So people do transform or realize a higher self through Karma Yoga as well, where they're cleansing their karma. I like to call karma as a karmic debt as well. You have a lot of karmic debt or a karmic surplus that you have accumulated, which leads to the life that you're leading today. But how can you make sure that you are in a balance sheet, you are fully balanced? It's through doing karmas which are not focused on a purpose, which are selfless. So donations, helping society, or doing things that is just out of a purpose of good, is also karma yoga. A lot of things are talked in Bhagavad Gita about this. uh, I think these are the paths you can get started in, but ultimately any spiritual practice will incorporate all four together, right? Rudraksha, the reason I talk a lot about Rudraksha is because Rudraksha captures all four. Uh, Rudraksha, the experience that one feels after wearing Rudraksha is an experience that never felt before, right? It generates bhakti. You don't have to understand Rudraksha. I have a lot of clients, a lot of people whom my family has helped, who don't even understand Hindi or English. They're not from our language. It's the Vedic texts are very inaccessible for them in today's day. So maybe in later they will be accessible, but right now it's very difficult for them. So how do they generate belief? It's through experience. Rudraksha gives you that experience. There is also Dhyan, or Gyan Yoga. Rudraksha is mentioned in across all Vedas, all Puranas. Rudraksha is mentioned in. You can understand reading about Rudraksha, reading about its quality. If you go deeper in it, it's a lot of a lot of knowledge that is installed in the understanding of Rudraksha itself. Sanatan Dharma is a very symbolic, dharma. It's the eternal dharma. The name itself, Sanatana, is eternal. It does not have a start. It does not have an end. So even understanding the concept, a single concept within this dharma, gives you the ability to understand the entire thing. For example, I was doing a video on Bhairav recently. The word Bhairav, Bha means creation, Ra means preservation, and Va means destruction. So even understanding just the word Bhairav gives you the understanding of the Trinity. So that's just an example of how understanding Rudraksha can lead to a higher, realization. Then Dhyan, like I said, Dhyan is a mixture of Dharan, Dhyan, and Samadhi. In all four, there are planetary influences. There are chakras that need balance. There are your senses, perception, abilities that need balance, and Rudraksha helps you in that. Lastly, karma. Rudraksha unanimously has been agreed to cleanse karma, right? Because Rudraksha is a tool.
Cleanse karma in the sense like
So there is two understanding of Rudraksha. If we look at the word Rudra Aksha, uh, there is debate whether it's Rudra Aksha meaning tears of Lord Shiva or is it eye of Lord Shiva. Now you'll find two different groups debating, but Sanatana Dharma, like I said, is eternal. All meanings are true. Rudra Aksha means Rudra's eye as well as Rudra's Aksha. Depends on which lens you're looking at from. When you look at Rudraksha as the eye of Lord Shiva, you're looking at Rudraksha as the eye opener, avidya killer, Ashmita destroyer, where you are open, where you start to realize that all things are Maya, and then you start to perform selfless act and hence karmic cleansing. When you look at Rudraksha from a bhakti yoga perspective, then you see Lord Shiva meditated for thousands of years. And when he had the sense of compassion come for the human life, tears of happiness, tears of joy, tears of compassion grew as Rudraksha. So that's a bhakti yoga perspective of looking into Rudraksha, where we see Rudraksha as a tool that Shiva has proposed or developed for us to transform. So it has the karmic cleansing properties through action as well as through belief of bhakti yoga.
oh,
Yeah.
it's like a lot of things. So okay, I understand it has very minute all those information, but for someone like me who's in a just day-to-day job, who's just minding my work, how do I start my spiritual journey? Like this is all like too much to handle, you understand?
Yeah.
It's like when I come across this karmic, bhakti, all these things, what do I do? Like, how do I start?
Yeah. So I think for anyone to start, I say sadhana as something that is done continuously with a discipline for a prolonged number of time, prolonged amount of time. What we tend to do in anything, not just sadhana, but anything is we try to overachieve. Okay, we try to do things in a way where it's impractical because see, when you're trying to please gods, for example, now you wake up, you say, okay, I want to do sadhana now. Then you think about gods. Are you going to be able to choose gods? Are you going to be able to choose which god you want to please? Okay, I'm going to please Vishnu, not Shiva. Then you're going to feel like, no, for Shiva also I'll do 108. Then for Durga, oh, I have to do for Devi. So for Durga also I'll do 108. So then you have like 1,000 mantras that you have to do, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to feel like, okay, I have to either quit my job because, or I have to wake up around 3 a.m. The Kali Yuga in today's life is such that we're unable to control our schedule. See, we want to, we have to, we know that, but we're unable to because we have obligations, we have attachments, we have a lot of things that bind us in this world. So, what I personally recommend is to do something that is practical. For example, just three mantras of deities of the Panchayans. In Sanatan Dharma, there is a concept of Panchayan, the Panchayan Devta. In houses, in traditional houses, you will see five Devtas that are installed. The Panchayan is Ganesh, Shiva, Vishnu, Devi, and Surya, sun. Okay. So if a person is starting their sadhana, they should at least remember the five deities on a daily basis. You can do Om Namah Shivaya for Shiva. You can do Om Gam Ganapataya Namaha for Ganesh. You can do Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha for Vishnu. You can do a simple Devi mantra of Yadi Visarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita Namastasya 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 Namo Nama for Devi. And for Surya, see, all five gods love different things. Shiva loves Jaldhara. So we see on Shiva temples, you'll offer Jaldhara. For Ganesh, he loves Naivedya. So we offer fruits, we offer Naived to Lord Ganesh. For Vishnu, Sringar is what he loves. So you will see Vishnu temples very clean. You will see Vishnu temples with a lot of decorative items. You'll see Lord Krishna, very handsome. You'll see, so, decorative items, when we give decorative items or think about Lord Vishnu in a decorative style, he is very pleased. For Devi, Stuti is very important. Stuti is when you do a mantra. For example, a mantra that I just said, you can do it for Devi. And then for Surya, we know Surya loves namaskar, salutations. So in the morning, if you can just offer a little bit of water. Now, there's also going to be rules. Say, there is a lot of rules. There's a lot of process. Elaborate, you can go as elaborate as possible. The best thing would be to be able to just fly off to Lord Surya and just offer water. That's the best thing. But let's do something that is practical. If you're unable to find a copper bowl in the morning, fill the copper bowl, go upstairs, look at sun, then just think about sun. Maybe you're driving all day, right? Unless you're in a place in the planet where sun is off for 6 months, where you can rely on your imagination of sun, most of us, I like to believe, live in places where we see sun every day. So maybe in the when you're driving the car, when you're getting out of the house, make spirituality practical. Don't let the excuses of the material world make an excuse for your sadhana, because I've been a victim to that as well. I've tried to overachieve in my spiritual pursuit, where what I saw is even, small steps could have led me to a much higher sense of spiritual progress than what I tried to achieve. So for anyone, to answer your question, who is just starting out, maybe a single mantra or maybe just knowing what they need to do will make them guilt free, and then will also make spirituality more accessible to them. And once you access it, then you progress with it slowly. See, spirituality is a long marathon. It's not a sprint that you're racing in a single day. So I like to, I have a lot of clients who come to me and, want to overachieve everything, like want to go for all the Rudrakshas possible. See, it's good that you can do that. But maybe you want to start off wary and get started. Getting started is the most important thing, because the rest of the thing, the Rudraksha will transform you, the spiritual journey will transform you, that you start to be higher and higher and higher. In the gym, started working out recently. The ego of the mind is such that you want to lift the heaviest weights, right? You want to go there and lift the heaviest weight. Number one, you will get very sore. Number two, you can't even move the weights, right? It might look like small weights, but these are heavy plates. So similar to that, spirituality also, you need to understand that these are heavy plates. It won't be moved overnight. You need to build the mind to muscle connection, mind to spiritual connection, and then you would be able to lift. Consistency is greater than overachievement overnight.
Also about how we can keep spirituality on a day-to-day life. I think if you see my father or even grandmother, it is kind of binded in their day-to-day life. It's not like, if I have to be spiritual, means I'll have to wake up, I'll have to do some yoga. It's like I am forming these habits. But for my father or my grandmother, it's like in the part of their day-to-day routine, which I feel like we, this generation, lost it somewhere. If you see my father, he will never touch food without going to temple. Some sort of temple, or at least at home, he'll first take bath, he'll do something, then only he'll have food. My grandmother, like, first thing she wakes up in the morning, she'll go out and, bow down to Surya, and then only she'll start her day-to-day life. but she never taught us these things, that this should be done or something. But this, when I noticed, this is something they're doing it just out of a habit. They're just doing it naturally, which we, we need this someone to tell us, and we need all this talks and all those things. You do you feel like this generation lost it, or somewhere we are made to lose it?
I think there's two part to it. Uh, the number one thing is, when as the society, as generation together is moving towards material advancement, we're seeing material advancements and
True.
material goals, material aspirations is on all time high. Today you can't compete in life without material success, right? It's very difficult. So our parents, because of the love for us, will always prioritize a little bit material advancement as well. They will teach you to go to school in time. They will teach you to, study, finish your homework, and then sleep, right? These kind of things will be taught. Spirituality always takes a back seat, unfortunately, right? So
It is.
a little bit, because of the pressure of the material society, our parents were forced, I would like to say forced, obligated to prioritize material advancement over spiritual, education. Hence, our discipline for spirituality is much lower than our discipline for material growth. You will probably, if you come from a good ethical family, like you said, you do, you'll not be late for work, you'll not be late for classes. That is inbuilt in you, because that kind of discipline that your father carried in his spiritual life, he has given to you, but in a material way, right? So these kind of things we see in the spiritual life. Okay, she will learn later as time comes, because that is so ingrained in him that he can't imagine a reality beyond it. So he thinks that you already, spiritual enough, because he's in spiritual, he's in a different level of consciousness. See, it's like a lift. He's on a different level and you are on a different level. uh, because he's always day to day on a different level, he is thinking, assuming that you are on a different level as well. So that's minute knowledge about, hey, maybe wake up and do this, will not come. And we're also very, because we have to prove ourselves materially, we're also more, see, we're in reality, we also have that concept of reciprocity. We want to, when we achieve something, we want recognition. If you do mantra every day, there's no recognition that you get instantly. But if you achieve well in class, you're getting recognition
Yeah.
instantly, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, our society is right now in a confusion state, I think, where we're prioritizing material, but the spirituality is taking a backseat. I'm not trying to say that, we should just revolve it all around, because I understand we're in Kali Yuga, like I said, it's a material yuga, right? But at the same time, I think we can make bhakti more accessible and make it a part of your life, like you suggested. It starts from a habit, then it becomes who you are. It becomes your identity. So, uh, and we are in Kali Yuga, where it's ruled by Shani, Saturn. Saturn is a planet that is known for discipline, right? It's very difficult to maintain
I
discipline.
thought you were gonna say restriction.
No, it's Saturn. Shani is discipline.
Okay.
So he likes discipline in our thoughts, in our action, in our karma.
Hmm.
So as we move towards more discipline, you will see in life that spiritual people tend to succeed more, because that spiritual discipline tends to move towards your material discipline as well. See, any bhakti leads to bhukti and mukti. Bhukti is the concept of material fulfillment, because, like I said in the beginning of our conversation, human body is made with material and spiritual. You can't prioritize one over the other. You can't just say, I'm going to live a spiritual life today. Then you have to walk out of your body and move and let your body sleep. That happens only during dreams, but not in reality, right? Unfortunately, today. So I think taking both together, bhukti as well as mukti, is very important. Uh, we feel guilty when we're achieving bhukti. We tend to feel, that is wrong. Bhukti is equally important. According to Shiva Purana, a lot of people uh, ask me, what if I renunciate? What if I leave everything behind after I do bhakti? According to Shiva Purana, the complete fulfillment of one's desire is required for one to even think or be ready for renunciation. While you have desires, while you have attachments, You can't renunciate. You can't be a sannyasi overnight. It's not that easy. You have to fulfill your obligations first. See, Ram was a king as well.
Yeah.
He's a god as well, right? So his material fulfillment is equivalent to his spiritual realization. So that is both is important. There are blockages, however, like you said. Number one, avidya, ignorance, lack of knowledge that a higher reality exists, that spiritual knowledge is missing altogether in this generation. Second is asmita, ego. I know this. I know everything. My father, meditates in the morning. My grandmother has a direct landline to Lord Shiva. So I know this. This is all secondhand knowledge for me. That ego, I think everyone ought to learn in their own. Uh, Third is raga, which we say attachments. We have attachments. We have EMIs. That is a form of attachment. We have our kids that we have to look over. That's an attachment. We have our husbands. That's an attachment. It's all forms of attachment. Attachment is good. Attaching yourself and building your identity over attachment is wrong. So I'm not telling you to leave all your attachments. I'm just saying that don't identify yourself with your attachment. It is your attachment. It is not attached to you. Don't be attached to your attachment. Make your attachment as a obligation, right? So attachments, raga is very important. Dvesha. Now I hear everything. This is not for me. Let's walk out of here. That's dvesha. That is aversion. Because to be convinced and move in this path is difficult. The fourth blockage that has been told in Sanatana Dharma is
That point, no. Like, if it's not working for me, I'm just gonna work out of it. This is something I came across a lot, particularly in Instagram reels. If something is not working for you, it's not worth your time. Just move out. Just leave it and go find wherever you find peace. Just work out. And that is something I think it's okay, fine. If it's not working with you, I'll move out. I'll just go do whatever that works for me. I don't want to be in a situation that gives me anxiety or that doesn't work for me.
correct.
Like, and what's wrong with that?
I agree with that. I think if you leave the walk altogether, that's aversion. If you change your walk, that is completely fine. If the shoes is not fitting well, wear slippers. If the slippers is not feeling fine, then maybe skate, roller skate there. But just don't quit the path altogether and just cut off your legs and sit down. Right? That is aversion. Aversion is working out is important. For some, it might be Pilates. For some, it might be CrossFit. For some, it might be weightlifting, strength training. So, but working out is the purpose. So, spiritual realization is similar. Sanatana Dharma, eternal. Every one of us has different questions. Every one of us has different paths. Hence, four paths in a generalized form. But avoiding the path altogether is aversion, is dvesha.
Got it.
And then the last one is the most difficult one is abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is the fear of death. Fear of death is the one of the most important blockages or the biggest blockages in spiritual pursuit. See, there's a very important mantra in Sanatana Dharma of Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukum Vibhavandananam Mrityur Mukshaya Mahamritat. It's a very important Mahamrityunjaya mantra where it's not that we're avoiding death. Mrityunjaya, meaning the fear of death, we're getting out of. We're getting out of the fear of death. Why is getting out of fear of death so important? Is because most of the blockages that I talked about stems from our fear of death. See, human life is short. Like you said, you might die today. What will happen? When we look at death as a, as a measure of making life more valuable, you'll start to value life. You'll know that, okay, I have a limited amount of time. I need to make it worth it. When you look at death as an obstacle, you try to elongate life. You'll try to, invest millions of dollars trying to live immortal, live an immortal life. When you look at life and death as just a part of your existence, and this existence of yours is determined by your birth as Keerthi and your death as Keerthi, then you see as your purpose is to fulfill the requirement within that period of life and death. So, avoiding fear of death just means valuing life. It does not mean, oh, I'm fearless of that. Let's jump from the 30-story building and just, feel it. It does not mean to die. It just means to make life more valuable. So these are the obstacles that we all need to fight. especially in the Kali Yuga or the material yuga that we live in today, where we have a lot of advancement, the quality of life is much better, but the quality of our inner, life, our emotional health, psychological health, the life that
You know, like,
lives, the life that lives within the material. The material is comfortable. I'm wearing best shoes, I'm wearing best clothes, but is the soul that resides within the material happy? Right now, I think that is the one that is suffering, and hence the talk is more about spiritual transformation.
okay, we talked about suffering and death. Can we talk about more about death? Like, I had moments where, why can't we just end it? Because it's like so much happening, and sometimes, death seems to be the only way out for a lot of people in life. But there's this one thing that stopped me is, what if there is something after death which I'm not aware of? What if that is more painful than what I'm going through right now? So, okay, this is bad. Whatever we are in right now, this is bad. We see the stories after death, you became ghost, and until you finish your, lifetime that was given to you, you just wander around as ghost. I don't want to wander around as ghost. So I had this question: what if someone decides to end it, but the misery that we have right now is much better than better than what we're gonna have after death? So how do you, what is this about death?
Yeah. First, I'll answer the question about ghost.
Okay.
Understanding, like I said, even the simple word is very important in Sanatan Dharma. Ghost is known as Bhut, right? Bhut is Bhutkal, meaning your past. So the ghost that you're afraid of, the Bhut that you're afraid of, is your actions that you've done in the past that haunts you today. So if I've done something wrong, then that is my Bhut, that is my ghost that I'm afraid of in the dark, because I know I've done something bad. If you've done no bad, then there's no bhoot that is going to follow you, right? There is pishash and there is other kind of negative energies, but uh, people who are afraid of negative energies are the people who are afraid of. I'm again going to give you a material example because it's easier for us to
Yep.
understand. The people who are afraid of negative energies are the people who are afraid of gaining weight but not exercising. Similar, what I mean by that is, uh, if your sadhana is good, if your sadhana is pure, if you're doing the sadhanas, even the small ones, then there's no need for you to be afraid of kala jadoo or, evil eye of people, because you are building a strength or a shield greater than the one that are negative. In today's world, we don't have that level of pure souls where the word that they speak becomes true, right? In Satya Yuga, there used to be, because people used to not lie. They used to have the power
The curse and all.
of curse, the power of blessing. Today, even the blessings is difficult to attain. Even the curse is equally difficult to, actualize. So if you're strengthening your sadhana, there's no need for you to be afraid of pisach or any evil eye or any negative energy. Uh, Using tools like Rudraksha help in protection as well, because they mean that you're doing sadhana. In other words, when we look at bhut, then if you're done karmas that are wrong, then it's warranted for you to be scared at night, because those karma have, repercussions. But being afraid without having any bad karma is just illogical, because there's no bhut to be afraid of. Now, there is bhut of prenatal karma, past life, like I said, sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, which can be cleansed through sadhana. There is three methods to that: mantra, tantra, and yantra, which I'll cover. But before that, I'll answer the question of death. In terms of death, this is a question that I'm very, motivated to learn as well. Now, there is two ways you can look at it. One is to ignore that death, there is anything beyond death. That is like ignoring that there is your legacy in your life. Legacy is very important because it makes you aware of, it makes you uh, make your life important. If you are, thinking about your legacy, then you are worried about how your actions are today, right? Similar to that, if you believe, which I do believe, that there is life beyond that, then you are, you are conscious of your actions, and you are, you know making sure that you are doing things today which will lead to a better life or a better form of existence, which will definitely not be as Kirti, but will be as an energy which has a lot of these karmas
today, the agami karma of today is the prenatal karma of tomorrow. So unless you have realized God, the cycle of birth and death continues, is what the Sanatana Dharma believes in. So, but it's like going to a better reality, going to a better reality, going to a better family, going to, all of these play a role. Uh, I am not 100% sure what happens after that. Uh, no one is. But what we have read in Purana is this, that we have to be mindful of our actions today so that after life, the cycle of life, which shall continue, continues in a better place. There is a story. Everything in Sanatana Dharma is described by story. I remember a very good story right now. Uh, I think this story comes in Padma Puran, or Skanda Puran, one of the two. The story is of, I'll shorten the story. I'll not. I don't remember the character's name, of course. But there's a story of a very avid Shiva follower who is a prostitute, runs a brothel, right? And she's worshiping Lord Shiva every day, but she's running a brothel as well. And she has a monkey and a cock that she has as pets. Now, because she's an avid Shiva follower, she's making ornaments of Rudraksha and decorating these, monkeys and hens as her circus shows for the entertainments, right? Then a fire breaks down in the brothel. A very big fire breaks down in the brothel, and everyone almost dies. But the hen and the monkey escapes. Then after millions of years, we see Narad Muni uh, going to a king's palace where there are two sons, very young king's sons, who are wearing, bhasmas, who are wearing rudrakshas in their hands and their body. And then the king asks the Narad Muni that, why is my son, who are those so young, they're already worshipping Shiva, they're already so in love with Rudraksha. Then Narad Muni says that they used to be the hen and the, monkeys of the brothels, which was in fire. And then today they are so into Shiva. Now their next journey is to go towards Shiva. So, like, they took their time, but they evolved. Evolution happens not only in the material, but evolution happens in the spiritual as well. You are using your material as a sadhan, as a, vehicle, but you do evolve. So the story is a symbolic representation of this evolution. See, we should not take stories of Sanatana Dharma literally, because uh,
This
there's
is I also agree with.
there's a lot of symbolic knowledge. There's a barrier of culture. There's a barrier of language. There's a lot of advancement that we're going through. One thing remains: story. As soon as I say once upon a time, you'll have your ears, right?
Yeah.
So story is very close to humans, and hence knowledge are packed in stories of Sanatana Dharma. So just reading a story will give you a lot of information about death or life.
Okay. I recently came across this one. Nishchala Tattvam, Jeevan Mukti. So it's been pretty long since I was committed to work. Like I'm not doing things, like I used to do before. I used to be very focused and I used to work all day, all night like that. But I couldn't work right now. Then I came across this term called Nishchala Tattvam Jeevan Mukti. So whatever you want to do, like the main purpose of life, whatever that you're doing, if you have unwavering focus on something, it will take you there. That's what will give you the Jeevan Mukti. But if you take the stories of all the, have you heard of this story of Akka Mahadevi? She's a woman from Karnataka. She's a very beautiful woman. She got married to the king of the place, okay? But in her mind, she was married to Shiva. But the king saw her, she was so beautiful. He wanted to marry her. Of course, he's the king, so he could. But she did not allow him to be the husband, like touch her, or nothing happened with him. The king was waiting for so long. The king got mad after a point of time. Like, if you are you mad or what? How, if you're married to Shiva, why are you in my place? Why are you here? Like, why are you doing all these things with me? You're wearing my, my dresses. You're eating my food. You're being here as my wife, and you're saying that you're married to Shiva. Are you mad or what? Then she says, like, I don't know who you are. You did whatever you wanted to do with my parents and you took me here. I'm fine. But I am married to Shiva. I am the wife of Shiva. That's what Akka Mahadevi says. Then the king got so mad, he's asking, if you wanna be married to Shiva, if you are the wife of Shiva, leave here, you don't be here. When she was about to leave, he says, all the dust that you're wearing, I gave this. So remove all this and then go. Without even a second thought, she removed all of her dresses. She walked out of the palace naked. And she went on to write so many great poems, which we still have about Lord Shiva. She roamed around naked all her life. She had this huge, long hair which covered her bosoms and all. So, what I feel is, doesn't matter, if it's spirituality or anywhere, you need to have this unwavering focus. But how do we attain that focus? How does spirituality can help you attain that focus?
Unwavering focus can be achieved through a lot of ways, but it's all about dhyan, right? When we talk about focus, we talk about dhyan yoga again. The dhyan consists of three different steps. It is dharana, which is concentration. It is dhyana when you concentrate enough, long enough, you have focus enough on some subject, then that subject you tend to understand much more than any other person in the planet. We see scientists who have spent years in laboratories studying the most granular things. Then they develop understanding about them that can define universe and the world that we live in, and it has made profound changes in our life. That's a concept of dharana which has led to dhyana, where dhyan meaning the the subject that you are focused so much on is starting to transmit a lot of knowledge to you. Then it moves towards samadhi, where you identify yourself dissolved, and the subject and the person who is observing, they don't remain. They both become the same. So when we talk about the story that you just talked about, where she was so focused on Shiva, she was so much into Shiva that uh, the nakedness represents her devotion and her carefree attitude towards the world. She has now become one with Shiva, right? She has become so one that the material around her, the Maya around her, just does not matter. So, how can you attain that? There's different things. The first thing I think is the human body, like I said again, is material and spiritual. A lot of us is influenced by planets as well. There is a concept of astrology that we come across. Astrology in today's age, I think, is a little bit misunderstood as a predictive method. What happens in 3 months? What is going to happen in 6 months? What is going to happen in a year? Astrology, however, should be more about prescriptive and more about self-discovery. I like to look at astrology as a map where the destination, the ultimate quest is to find yourself. Because astrology can give us a lot of knowledge about our tendencies. If you're having difficulty focusing, from an astrological point of view, there might be planets like the Mercury, which is leading about perception, or Jupiter, which is about knowledge, that is hindering your ability to focus. So being able to understand that, realize yourself, understand your instinctive qualities, and resolve it through astrological method is also a very good method to building concentration. Another thing is the subject of concentration should be about your interest. You should be concentrated, you should be focused on things that interest you genuinely. I, for example, cannot be studying plants that much because I might not be might not be as interested in leaves as a person who is sitting there and who's dedicated their life on leaves. So your subject of focus definitely matters. When again, it everything is a circle. It again comes to avidya, where you need to first know what you're searching for. I began the conversation by explaining that we're all in a search. Concentration happens when you find the subject that is worth searching and investing time on dharana. There is even, I've read a book where it is all about dharana. There is a concept of dharana is very, very deep concentration because our when we focus so much and when we concentrate so much, our mind is so powerful that, like I said, we can transmit energies out of the subject that we're focusing on. We go beyond it, and to develop that, there is astrological ways as well as there is ways where you can meditate, you can activate your chakras. There is a concept of the third eye, right? The pineal gland, we call it the agya chakra as well. Now in recent days it's also known as the ajna chakra. The Ajna chakra sits here. not here or here. It sits on the middle. It represents our unbiased nature. It represents, it's not a duality. When we let go of the duality, when we concentrate fully, we're able to activate. That is a representation of activation of the Agya Chakra. And when you activate your Agya Chakra, the information flows in a way where it's not black and white, where it's not, day and night. It is unbiased perspective of the subject.
Let's talk about astrology a little bit because that is something that I might be interesting. Uh, recently I moved to Mumbai. Before coming here, I told my mother like things are not going well in my life. So I'm never someone who believes in astrology. I've never been that person. I've always been this person like I can make my life. I'll do things on my own. I don't need someone to write charts for me and all. So I've always been this person. Even though I worship God and I do all the other things, astrology is something that I'll distance myself from. But when things go down the hill, I felt like okay, let's just go see an astrologer now at least. Let's see how, because I feel like you need this one thread to hold on. I felt like okay, maybe let's just see what's gonna happen. So how does astrology actually work? Like I'll tell you, in my birth chart, it was given that I'll end up in a government job. Okay. So now you have a government, you're thinking about government job. How about some 1,000 years back or some 2,000 years back? How government jobs were not even an option. So how come birth charts can predict someone's gonna have a government job, someone is gonna go to this business, that business? How can that do that? How does astrology really work? How can you just predict someone's future? I know you don't see it that way, but that's what happening in real astrology.
Yeah. So let's understand what astrology really is. Vedic astrology is what I will be talking about, that because that is what I believe in and what I practice. The Vedic astrology is a chart. It's a elaborate, it's an elaborate study. There's different charts in it. Let's just talk about the D10 or the birth chart, the Lagna chart, right? Astrology needs your date, place, time of birth in order for the chart to be created. There are ways where we can, where we can factor in the time, but the more the accurate the details, the better your chart forms, right? You talked about I'm in control of my own destiny. Why do I need a birth chart? That's absolutely true that you are in control of your destiny. Therefore, the birth chart is not a prediction mechanism. When you say that you might have a government job, what the astrologer is potentially, I'm confident, is seeing is a very strong sun or Surya, right? Surya is a representation of authority. Surya is a representation of respect. Surya is a representation of conviction. Surya is a representation of a little bit of a rebellion because you're not someone who's going to be dominated easily, right? Understanding the birth chart, you can navigate life much easier and you can make informed decisions. How can one remedy, or what are the solutions then? This
Like cutting the banana tree.
Yeah, like cutting the banana tree. Now there is the concept of mantra, tantra, and yantra. Tra is common across all. Mantra, tantra, yantra. Tra is instrument. Tra in Sanskrit means instrument. You can use three different things as instruments to transform yourself and get rid of the negatives of the birth chart. Mantra, using man, meaning your mind, as an instrument, is mantra. Now, mantra is more about mantra sadhana. Your inner voice, your subconscious, which we call it today, is very important because it is in constant communication. What does your inner voice tell you is very important. How can you channel that? How can you use your inner voice to bring changes in your life is
Like
mantra.
intuition or
Intuition as well as inner communication that you have. You're always in a constant communication. Silence is very rare. You're almost never silent unless you are in a very high level of sadhana where you can find the stillness within you. That is when mantra sadhana has become so dense that you can now practice silence, right? But how do we eliminate the negative talks, negative, thoughts? Is through installing mantra, using your man as your instrument. Now, there is two kinds of mantra that we know of. One is a full mantra or a meaning mantra. If I say, "Oh God, salutations to you," It has meaning, right? Hey Surya Namaskar. It's a meaningful mantra. It has meaning. It doesn't have bij in it. Bij mantra is, bij means seed. It's a mantra which can grow within you, but it's a mantra that might not have apparent meaning. Om Bram Brim Brom Sa or Om Pram Prim Prom Sa, Shanishcharaya Namaha is the bij mantra of Shani, right? The Pram Prim Prom Sa being the bij that is used to invoke the energies of Shani. It might not have apparent meaning. There is no meaning of Pram Prim Prom, but there is the sound has a bij, a seed in it. Rudraksha is important. Again, I'm joining Rudraksha. It is because Rudraksha gives a person a permission to chant bij mantras. It is not just a tool you use to chant bij mantra, but we have a concept of being initiated or having the permission. According to Shiva Purana, the Bij mantra of Rudraksha is mentioned with the with the mentions of Rudraksha. That means that once a person has the destiny to attain these beads, they should practice these mantra, meaning they have the ability, right, to practice these mantra. Bij mantra now become accessible to you. Bij mantra again is a mantra sadhana through which you can transform. Second is tantra. Tantra again is a very interesting topic in today's day. Tantra has been negatively associated with black magics and a lot of things. If you Google tantra, you'll see a lot of black all over, right? Black again is a very auspicious color, but again has been represented as something that is very
Negative.
negative, a very it's a different connotation to tantra. But tantra, the word tan has two meanings, many meanings. Sanatana dharma again is a very elaborate science. Tan means to weave. Tantra means to weave as an instrument. Tan also means your body. So when you use your tan in body, you to connect with the higher self, then that is tantra. Meditation is a tantra sadhana. Puja, a lot of the puja that you do with mudras, there is lots of mudras. You do Sankha mudra, you do, you have a lot of different Ankusha mudras. There is a lot of mudras that you do that is also using your tan to connect, to remedy yourself. So that is also a tantra sadhana, and Rudraksha plays a very important role in tantra sadhana as well. Lastly, yantra. Yantra is a word that is made of yam, Y-A-M, yam-tra. Yam in Sanskrit is to capture. It's a instrument of capture. Yantra captures energy. Humans are energy harvesters. The light that we are using is harvested through the energies that is harvested through water or maybe wind or maybe, the burning of the fuels. We use energy, we convert it, we harvest it for us. Tantra are tools that harvest energies that are accessible to us. Rudraksha, the shape of the Rudraksha. You have mukhis in Rudraksha, right? Different mukhis. One of the questions that was asked to me, a lot of people ask is, if Shiva makes Rudraksha, why does he make a lot of different mukhis of Rudraksha? Why different shapes? Because maybe the problems that you have are different. And the energies that you need to be captured are different. And hence, different shapes capture are different yantras that capture different energies that are required in you, which can transform you. So all mantra, tantra, and yantra are remedies or processes through which you can remedy or uplift or strengthen your birth chart. Gemstone, again, last time we met, you had asked me a question about why I do wear gemstones as well. Gemstones serve a purpose of amplification. If a planet is sitting in a good position, it can amplify the positive. The risks of gemstone is if a planet is sitting in a negative position and you wear gemstone for it, it can amplify the negative as well. Rudrakshi, on the other hand, and mantra, on the other hand, solve a work in a process of strengthening as opposed to amplification. Strengthening means you can strengthen a already strong or you can strengthen a weak as well. So through the use of mantra, through the use of Rudraksha, you can strengthen your planets, get rid of a lot of negative. Will that change the birth chart? No. The birth chart is a fixed diagram that is, you're born with it. But there is no tool today to measure a changed birth chart. If you do negative karmas with a beautiful birth chart, your birth chart, if we look at it in today's time, has probably already deviated to downwards, right? But there's no tool to measure that. And similarly, if you do karma, if you do mantra, you see people with, debilitated planets. You see people with Rahu Ketu sitting in a very concerning position, being very high on their sadhana. Why? Because they're karma pradhan. They have done karmas to eliminate the negatives or their tendencies which would have, uh, caused them to fall.
Okay, I have a question about Rudraksh. So when you talk about Rudraksh, why is it not Shivaksh or Bhairavaksh? There's so many forms of Shiva, Nataraja, there's so many forms. Why particularly it is affiliated to Rudra?
This is a very, very beautiful question. Uh, Rudraksh. Rudra is a name that is synonymously used as Shiva. Now, when we look at the Vedas, we see the mention of Rudra in Rig Veda. Shiva later becomes a word that is used. When we use Shiva and Rudra, we use them for different purposes. Shiva is a god of sustenance. He's a god that is used more when we represent Shiva as the sustainer or as the almighty god that he is. When we use Rudra, we use the transformative, fierce form of Rudra, which destroys stagnation and cause you to grow. So when we look at Shiva Gayatri Mantra, that is Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tannu Rudra Prachodaya.
Hmm.
Right? Tatpurushaya Vidmahe, we are saluting the Tatpurush, the eastward facing face of Lord Shiva, which is facing the sunlight. Tatpurushaya Vidmahe, meaning representation of ignorance and avidya going away and you seeing the light. Mahadevaya Dhimahi, meaning salutation to Mahadev, the supremeness of Lord Shiva. And then Tannu Rudra Prachodayat, the Prachodayat meaning give me light, O Rudra. So when we want ourselves to transform, we always invoke the Rudra form of Shiva, who is able, who is fierce, who is the transformative form of Lord Shiva, which we invoke for our use. Hence, Rudraksha. There is, like I said, in Sanatana Dharma, understanding the word, the purpose of the word in itself is enough and sufficient for you to transform.
Good. Of course, a lot of people have this question. We have so many deities, we have so many gods in India. I heard someone saying like 33 billion gods are there in India. Why Rudraksh is only connected with Shiva? Like, of course, there are, even if you come to South, Murugan, Rudraksh is there. But the moment you hear Rudraksh, it's Shiva. Why not other gods? Why not Vishnu? Why not Brahma? Even if you take the Trimurtis, why only Shiva? Like, what is the connection between Shiva and Rudraksh? Of course, we say it's his teardrop and all, but why it's his teardrop? Why not some other gods? Why not Devi?
Yeah. So that is again a very beautiful question. I'll answer the Devi part first and then go. Devi, Rudraksha is Devi.
Hmm.
Prakriti. It grows in Prakriti. Nature is Devi. Rudraksha is the embodiment of Shiva in Prakriti. It is Shiva and Shakti. Without Shakti, Shiva becomes Sava, meaning he's not active, right? So Shiva and Shakti are always together. The path to Shiva always goes through Shakti. Without Shakti sadhana, without realization of the importance of Devi, you can never attain, Rudraksha would never grow if there is no Prakriti, right? So the Prakriti, the nature is Devi, and hence Rudraksha is a capture, is a embodiment of Shiva and Shakti. Now, why? Now, Rudraksha and the 33 Koti. 33 Koti are 33 counts of Devtas. Not 33 billions, but there is 33 forms of Devta. Now, Devta and Ishwar are different. Ishwar is the supreme. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar are Ishwars. Whereas there are Devtas as well, right? Other Devgans as well. So, Rudraksha is ruled by three things. Number one, always Shiva and Shakti. Definitely, every Rudraksha has Shiva and Shakti in it. But there is planet that is ruled. Now, again, another thing is all planets are at the end coming from Sadashiva. So they are also Shiva. They are ruled by gods. All gods come from Sadashiva. They're again Shiva. So, for example, the 20-Mukhi Rudraksha is a very popular Rudraksha for advanced sadhanas. It's a Rudraksha ruled by Brahma. But again, it comes from Rudra because the trinities have three different roles. Vishnu represents Sattva, meaning he's the sustainer.
Protector.
He's the sustainer and he's the protector of the status quo. He does not transform. He protects you. He nurtures,
Whatever that is there.
right?
Yeah.
He nurtures whatever there is. That why it's known as the sattvic. gu- There is rajas guna as well, which is ruled by Brahma. He's the creator. He creates desire as well as he creates creations. Rajas. Tamas, the tamasic, the stagnation is ruled by Shiva, Rudra, right? But what is Shiva destroying? We hear Shiva as the destroyer, right? Uh, and I was always curious, why is he known as destroyer? What is it? This destruction can never be good.
In South,
Right.
there's a thing that you should never keep a Shiva idol at home because he's a destroyer. He'll destroy the things you have. That's
So
a
what is
belief.
what is he destroying is very important. Again, deeper analysis is important. If he's destroying stagnation, from stagnation to creation, from laziness to activity, from barrenness to fruits. Shravan, the month of Shravan is celebrated for Shiva, right? The reason is because in Shravan there is heavy rain, there is heavy rainfall, there is chaos, there is floods. We think as if all the agriculture, all the harvest is going to get destroyed. But what does the chaos lead to? It leads to new growth. It leads to new beginning. It is required for new things to stem. Without destruction, without the power of destruction, nothing can grow. Hence, Rudraksha, even though ruled by different deities, needs that Rudra aspect so that the deities not only bless you, but transform you. Right? You can worship a deity, but when you want to invoke the deity to transform you in your life, they are carried in the Rudraksha beads.
Let's do rapid fire.
Sure.
I think our last episode, Rapid Fire, was like a super duper hit. I got some 5.3 million views, which is one of the best I had. So this time it's going to be little spiritualistic, not just about Rudraksh. So, rapid fire questions it is. Number one mantra you live by.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Wow. First thing to check when buying a Rudraksh.
Authenticity. Very important to check authenticity of a Rudraksha because the pureness of the Rudraksha is a direct connection with its power that it carries.
Okay. Okay, I have a follow-up question for that. We'll come later. If you could visit one sacred place tomorrow, where would it be?
Always Pashupatinath.
Oh my god. What's the last thing you would do if you're gonna die tonight?
I would probably say my prayers and sleep.
Wow. One person you wanna bring back from death.
Now, this is a very interesting question. I would love to bring my grandfather or my departed souls, but would they want to come back?
Yeah.
Is the question, is the bigger question. Because they're probably in a different state which is far beyond the reality.
Maybe
that
far better than us.
far better than us. So I'd have to ask if they want to come.
Okay. If you can time travel and go to a year in the past, which year would you go and why?
Um,
Not necessarily in your lifetime. We can go back to some 1,000 years back also.
yeah, I would love to visit the Satya Yuga once,
Okay.
see what the yuga of Krishna, Ram used to be like, and be able to experience the spiritual life that was lived. I always imagine what it would feel like to have no distraction and to have everyone around you have the same mind,
Going on in the same path.
with the same path and with the one relentless focus of self-discovery.
Amazing. What's more important, detachment or deep connection?
I think without deep connection, you can never detach. You need to understand yourself first in order for you to remove the things that you are attached to.
Hmm. Which is easier way to walk in the path of spirituality, alone or with a partner?
I think a partner plays a huge role in today's day for you to advance in your spiritual pursuit. Uh, so with a partner,
Wow. First thing that comes to your mind when I say the following: love,
mother, mom,
wow, God,
sure,
sex,
act of procreation,
money,
important,
karma.
uh, im- impossible to go without.
Wow. How do you define God?
I define God as
In one word.
Shiva.
Ah. What is the one big illusion in life?
That everything ends with death.
Okay. Okay, we almost reached the final segment. It's been, I think, more than 1.5 hours, no? Like, yeah. So, finally, we talked about the purpose of life, astrology, and so many things happened. I want to end it with a segment of Rudraksh and what role, like what extent Rudraksh can play in a person's spiritual life or in a person's mental state, because I've kind of I am going through, like, now I'm better, but I went through a very bad phase in life, and turning into spirituality kind of brought me back, I would say. Like, and I bought a Rudraksh. I have it. I'll show you later. So I bought a Rudraksh. So whenever I used to have this panic attacks, anxiety attacks, so I would say I cannot explain it logically. I cannot explain it scientifically. I have so many things happening which I cannot explain logically. So I kind of feel that it kind of calms me down. It kind of gives me some certain energy, and also since from my childhood, my parents used to say, light up some diya in room, light up some. It's like a common practice. Morning and evening, you light up a diya. But once you move out, you started living alone. We don't do that anymore. And I started doing this, and I can understand how major role it brings. Maybe we can say it's a new, it just brings up some energy, or it brings some sort of, you just feel calm or something. I don't know what's happening, but it is happening. So how do you think Rudraksh can contribute to a person's mental state, or you know for a person to be the way he is? How do you think Rudraksh can contribute to that, and what extent you think Rudraksh can play a role in that? Like, we can say, see, everything in our life has some role to play in our life, but what extent it is, like, is it like some, we can say, some 60-70% or 10%, 5%? What extent it can play a role?
Yeah. So I'll answer the question about Diya first. I think when we light Diya in the beginning of our prayers, we say Diya as the karma sakhare nama, meaning the one who can see our karma. He's the one he's a alive God. When we light Diyas, we wash our head because it's the mouth of God as well, right? And we also say Atma Jyoti Prakashaya Deepo Jyotir Namo Nama, meaning may my inner light be lit with the jyoti of Diya. So Diya is very important. Rudraksha, see, in Sanatana Dharma, the depth of Sanatana Dharma is such that there is a lot of ways one can transform. I gave you the bhakti way, the Gyan way, the Dhyan way, and the Karma way that you can transform. However, like I said, human nature is to search. When Rudraksha is so accessible, all the Puranas mention it unanimously. There's probably not a single tool that Lord Shiva wears apart from Rudraksha. In all his temples as well as all his depictions, we can see him wearing Rudraksha, nothing else. Uh, when things are very accessible and very apparent, we tend to search again for something else. Therefore, what I think is give Rudraksha the chance that it deserves. Experience the change that comes with Rudraksha. If you're blessed enough, Rudraksha will come to your life. It will work wonders. I've heard people that, Rudraksha was gifted to them. And they were not even planning to get the Rudraksha, but there has been transformation. Now, percentage is a very difficult way of measuring spirituality. It's a very easy way of measuring material. How how focused are you in your goals? I have heard people. I recently consulted a client of mine who is a very high achieving doctor in the US. Now, one of the things that they were wanting is a job, new job, right? Uh, Now, the question after a few months after wearing Rudraksha, they got it by the grace of Lord Shiva. But the question was, can I move? I mean, should I move? Right? The new problems come.
Huh.
And then you're like, the Rudraksha is not helping me decide. So are you focused on your goal? What are you measuring? Because goals and our aspirations tend to be ever growing, right? So, and you can measure, but it takes time, it takes sadhana, it takes patience. If you are a person who's focused on your goal and you just need one thing and very clear about it, and then Rudraksha can bring huge amount of changes because you are able to measure the change. Measuring a human life, measuring your transformation is very difficult. But what thing that I'm convinced on is the immeasurable impact that Rudraksha has will certainly lead you to the path that you want to go to. And Rudraksha is extraordinarily strong, and I believe it with all my heart and soul.
Okay. Okay. So Shivaratri is around the corner, and you wrote a book about how Rudraksh can help you reach Shiva or something.
Yes.
So, what role do you think Shivaratri will play in a person's life? Like, I've heard about Sadhguru saying, like Shivaratri, if you just keep your spine up, if you don't lie down and speak, keep your spine up, and this is the night where Shiva walks in. So just be there. You don't have to do anything. Just be there. He'll touch you. So that's what some maybe he said in better words, but that's what I understood. So what Shivratri, like what has happened in Shivratri? Like Shiva, like he's in his fullest form. In South, we have this thing called Shiva will be doing Rudra man Shivratri or something like that. So what does Shivratri actually do?
There's two Shivaratris, Shivaratri and Mahashivratri.
Mahashivratri,
So
sorry, yeah.
Shivaratri, every Pradosh day is, Pradosh is dawn. Pradosh falls 2 times in a month,
Hmm.
Shukla as well as the Krishna Pradosh, right? There's two forms of Pradosh. The Pradosh on Krishna Pradosh on the month of Shivaratri is known as the Mahashivaratri when we celebrate Shiva. Pradosh is the time, the dawn time is the time when we know that Shiva visits the earth. The Mahashivaratri, the energies are so accessible that people don't want to sleep that night. Not because they plan to just stay awake, because they can't fall asleep because they can feel the presence of Lord Shiva. I strongly believe that a sadhana that is started on Mahashivaratri will be so powerful that you will not end that sadhana for the rest of your life. That is how powerful Mahashivaratri is. Just remembering Lord Shiva in your own capacity. You know, if you are in a place where there is no Shivalinga, just remember the forms of Shiva. If there is nothing accessible to you, Om Namah Shivaya is sufficient for you. But remember Lord Shiva, connect with him. He is very accessible during Mahashivaratri. Now, as you advance, you know, being able to wear a Rudraksha on Mahashivaratri, doing a puja on these are all extraordinary achievements, but it does not have to be those achievements that you long for. Even a simple Om Namah Shivaya on the morning of Shivaratri or the night of Shivaratri can be extraordinarily transformative. Shiva is always there, but on Mahashivaratri, it almost feels like he is focused on us.
Wow. Okay. So I have this one more question I wanted to ask this to someone who is in Nepal. So I came across this thing called where a 11-year-old girl, Kumari, this tradition in Nepal where they pick some girl and they treat her as goddess. What is this about this tradition? There's like two kind of arguments. It's like one set of people saying it's amazing that you're treating a girl like Devi, literal Devi goddess. Another side is saying that you're like destroying her childhood. She would not be treated as a child. So, what is this tradition about? Why you are picking one girl, and how do you pick that girl, and how why are you treating like literal goddess? What is the reason behind this tradition?
Uh, Kumari is a Devi in our traditions, and the selection process is much elaborate. When we see from a distance, everything looks either or. There's dualities, but when we look at it from the up close, there is just one single truth. And the selection process, the process of initiation, these are process that is beyond my knowledge. These are things that are done in families of with thousands of years of traditions or more, immeasurable years of traditions. And I truly believe that there is a purpose of the goddess that is born as Kumari. And another thing that I've come to realize is when we look at Upanishads, when we look at our Vedic texts, we see uh, either young girls or young boys being the story, the lead of the story. The reason is because they are fearless. The reason is because they are innocent. They're very innocent and fearless. They're naive. The naiveness, when mixed with their pursuit of spirituality, brings them close to God in a very, very fast manner. And they can, like I said, once you are in samadhi with God, you become God. So there is a lot of things to do with that, but the process of initiating a Kumari and the process of worship the Kumari it falls a little bit beyond my field of expertise.
So about one more thing, Nepal is right now, Nepal and Tibet, wherever you go in the in the extreme northeast, it's kind of more of Buddhist culture is there. But you coming from the family of Pashupatinath Pandit family, how do you see, uh, where do you think Nepal stands in terms of religion? Is it leaning more towards Hinduism or is it leaning more towards Buddhism? How does it coexist without much problem? Because wherever two religion exist, there's tend to be problems.
Correct.
So how do you think Nepal survives there?
So if you're clear about your destination, two cars can easily run the same road, right? Because the destination is the same. Buddhism, uh, Sanatana Dharma, everything is leading to one supreme reality, which we call as Sadashiva. So therefore, when we're able to see and identify that, we see that both the religions can coexist easily and with peace and harmony. In Sanatana Dharma, in Nepal, we believe Buddha to be a form of Vishnu. He is the form of Vishnu who is non-violent and has been incarnated in order to create peace and teach the learnings of peace. So Buddha is not only, we're not only coexisting with Buddhism and Hinduism. Buddhism and Hinduism are intertwined in ways that are not visible to the external eyes, but internally, in Buddhist temple we see Ajima, Devis. In Hindu temples, we see the statues of Buddha and Buddhism. So the two religions are such that because the road are the same, it's as if there's two vehicles running to the same direction, and with proper traffic light and proper lane policies, there should not be any
I
crash.
think Nepal has that.
I think we are very good at that because Nepal is truly a Dev Bhumi. The Bhumi itself protects us and guides us. Therefore, that's the reason Rudraksha comes from this Dev Bhumi.
Okay. So, when you're talking about this rapid fire questions, you said authenticity is the first thing you should look for when you're buying a Rudraksh. How do you find out the authenticity of a Rudraksh? How do I know this is like, oh, this is original and this is fake? Because whenever I go for, some temples, there'll be a lot of Rudraksh shops there. And in some shop, they're selling it for some 50 rupees. In other shop, they're selling it for 500 rupees. So should I think, okay, the costly ones are authentic?
See, Rudraksha, there is 5 factors in Rudraksha: size, quality, shape, symmetry, and lastly, authenticity, which is verified through different tests. Two primary tests is: number one, it needs to be an expert eye. Because if you're reading a report, for example, I can show you my health reports, I don't know if much is going to come out of it because you're not a health expert. Similar to that, you can measure Rudraksha as much as you want to. You can have all the tools in the world. You don't know what you're measuring. You can't test the authenticity. So
No, they are giving out certificates now.
yes, certificates are important, but I truly think that you need to consult with an expert who knows what the certificate entails. There is X-ray certification, which is very reliable method of testing whether there is any manipulated mukhis that are made or if there is any fillings that are done in the Rudraksha to increase the weight. We live in Kali Yuga, hence there are these ill practices you need to be away from. You need to choose sources that have something to lose that is greater than the value of Rudraksha, right? I mean, material value of Rudraksha. Another thing is the price difference is not just about quality. It's also not just about authenticity. It's also about quality. 5-mukhi Rudraksha, for example, you find it in abundance. You have like 5 lakhs 5-mukhi Rudraksha. But the A plus grade qualities, which are symmetrical, which have clear mukhis, which are round, which have the quality, the durability that a A plus grade Rudraksha requires, you will hardly find 5,000s of them. Might sound like a lot. There is 1 billion Hindus in the world, right? So even 5-mukhi, a good quality, is rare. Now, let's not even talk about 21 mukhis, which in a given year, there is 5 or 6 21 mukhis Rudraksha, if you're lucky, that come, right? So Rudraksha is extraordinarily rare. Because Rudraksha has been so accessible in our concepts and mind, because we see Shiva all the time with Rudraksha, it feels as if Rudraksha is there to grab it. But Rudraksha is very rare. Only the destined few can get access to the authentic Nepali Rudraksha, which holds the power to transform.
Why Nepali Rudraksh specifically? India also has Rudraksh.
India, in South India, they have the moon-shaped one mukhis, and they also have the two mukhis that are from Haridwari. They're known more as Bhadraksh. Rudraksha has been mentioned in Arun Valley is the best Rudraksha that grows there. Indonesia has beads that look like Rudraksha, but they are almost your fingernail size. You need a very strong microscope to be able to examine the mukhis of the Indonesian Rudraksha. They're very good for jewelry purposes, for japa. If you use a japa mala, the small ones, they are from Indonesia. Nepali Rudraksha are almost this big or bigger, right? So, for japa and for decorations, you can use Indonesian, but if you want Rudraksha for spiritual transformation, then Nepali Rudraksha is where you want to go for.
Okay. Let's end the conversation with your book. I know you're much more capable. You're one of the most capable person I've seen, I've come across. Talking to you is always like, a lot of possibilities are opening up. So, why did you choose to write a book? And what is there in the book? Of course, we know the connection of Shiva and Rudraksh. They are like interconnected.
Yeah.
So, what is there in the book actually?
Uh, uh, the book is just my notes that I've made through the years of my own understanding of spirituality and Sanatan Dharma. As I started my journey in reading books and texts, I like to say I know a little bit, a droplet of the ocean is what I'm trying to read or trying to understand. Uh, and while I was doing it, I realized that there's lots of different ways the same thing are told in our dharma. It's very complicated to read our books in today's day. So this book serves as a note or compilation of my notes and my understanding of what it means to spiritually transform. I talk about things like gunas, like spiritual transformation, like sadhanas, like mantras. I try to make it as accessible because they are my notes that I wrote to understand. So it's me and the three generations of expertise through my grandfather, father. I am a person who does not believe in hiding your traditions or hiding the knowledge or my secret recipe. There is no secret recipe. The only secret recipe is your relentless focus and your thought about Shiva. And how do you get there is a small contribution through my book. I'm trying to give the most easy read for one to start their spiritual journey and eventually access the Puranas and the Vedas that I think are timeless. And this is just a beginning of their journey through which they can go further.
Okay. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You have no idea. You have opened up so many things. And you're one person I would always enjoy talking. No matter how many times, even when we get on to the G meets and all, like, you're one person I can know, like, this person knows what he's talking. You know, I've come across people who just talks out of, um, only they'll speak very amazingly, but the actions won't match with that. And you're one person who I look up to when it comes to spirituality or this kind of talks. Like, I always amaze, like, at such an young age, how this person is so mature. Maybe that comes from family also. So you live right next to Pashupatinath, you live right next to him. So the kind of environment you are in, somehow it is contributing in a great way to your life. And I'm so glad to take a little bit of it. So whenever we are having this conversation, thanks for doing this, and it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Always a pleasure talking to you as well. The genuine questions that you bring, like I said, the preparations and the questions that you have, it always moves me. It pushes me to a place where I don't know exists in my mind, which brings out these things. See, conversation is a sum of question and curiosity. I think the genuine curiosity and questions that you have, it just allows me to express what I've learned. So this is just sharing of knowledge, and I learn a lot. When you ask me, I learn a lot about myself and Sanatana Dharma. So thank you for doing this.
That shows your generosity, but still, thank you so much. Thanks for doing this.